Hello, everybody. My name is Roy Nemmer of Mundo Albiceleste.com, and welcome to another video. And this time around, it's the player duels. So what we're going to do in these videos is we are going to compare, or we are going to take a look at 2 or 3 players that play in the same position and talk about, a little bit about their numbers with the national team, their current form, and potentially who could start at the World Cup. And this time, it's the left backs. It's Nicolas Tagliafico and Marcos Acuna. Those are the 2 players that we're going to take a look at today. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, we know that someone like Lisandro Martinez, for example, can play left back. But for Argentina, not quite. However, there was one game under Lionel Scaloni where Tagliafico and Acuna did not play. Instead, someone else was the left back. So this is a little trivia question for you. I'll give you a hint or two throughout the video. Stay till the very end for the answer. So the question, which Argentina player played as a left back for Argentina when Tagliafico and Acuna were not there with Lionel Scaloni as coach? Think about it. Leave a comment at the bottom. Let's see if you guys could get the answer. But going back or starting off with Tagliafico and Acuna, they have been the starting left backs. They've rotated starting 11s, right? One game Tagliafico will start, the other Acuna will start. Perfect example, the Copa America. Acuna started a couple of the games, Tagliafico the other. Tagliafico started the semifinal against Colombia. Acuna didn't play. The final, Acuna played. Tagliafico came on as a substitute, right? And when that happened, Acuna kind of played further up, and Tagliafico was more the left back. So that we've seen some different variations of these 2 on the pitch. Now, if we're going to take a look at specifically the numbers, and I know that numbers don't always tell the story, right? But let's take a look at the numbers, and let's kick things off with Nicolas Tagliafico. Now, since Lionel Scaloni has become coach of the Argentina national team, Tagliafico has started 18 games. Started 18, won 12, lost 2, and drew 4. In total, when the number of matches that he has played, either as a substitute and as a starter, so both combined, 24 games, 16 wins, 3 losses, and 5 draws. So not a bad return in terms of numbers for Tagliafico with the national team. And again, this is after 2018, after the World Cup, once Scaloni took over. Let's take a look at Marcos Acuna's numbers. Acuna has started 14 games, won 12, lost 0, and drew 2. And then games that he has started and as a substitute, 20 games, 16 wins, 1 loss, and 3 draws. Now, obviously, the losses for both Acuna and Tagliafico came before this record-setting undefeated streak for the Argentina national team. And Acuna has played further up the pitch at times, even as a winger, whereas Tagliafico is more of the traditional left back. And that's my first question to everybody here. It's the main topic of discussion. Based off of based off of those numbers and based off of everything that you've seen, who would you start against Saudi Arabia? And I say specifically Saudi Arabia because, in my opinion, there's no clear-cut answer to, in general, who would you start between Tagliafico and Acuna? Because for me, I think it depends a little bit on the opponent. I love both players. Tagliafico right now is probably in better form, especially since joining Lyon in France. He's been great for them. Acuna going through some fitness issues the past couple of weeks and months. But specifically, why I say Saudi Arabia is because I think it depends a little bit on the opponent. A team like Saudi Arabia might sit back and try and hit you more on the counter, might not be as creative offensively as maybe other teams. So a team like that, I might be more inclined to go with Marcos Acuna. Just because offensively, I think he gives a little bit more to the team than Tagliafico. If we're up against a different team, I might still say Acuna, but I might say Tagliafico, depending on the team, right? So there's a couple of things that might play a factor. Do you go with 2 attacking fullbacks? Because then you have to look at the right backs. Do you play Molina? Do you play Montiel? Do you play Foyth? That's a whole other thing as well, right? Hint, hint, we might be doing a separate video about the right backs. But sticking to this one here, As I mentioned, I love both players. I think for me personally, I would go with Acuna against Saudi Arabia rather than Tagliafico. But even while saying that, I'm not 100% convinced, not because I'm not 100% convinced in Acuna, just because I've seen Tagliafico, especially lately with Argentina, what he's been able to do, the games he's put in, right? At one point, especially after the Copa America, it looked as if Acuna was the starting left back. That's it. Tagliafico wasn't playing as much at the time with Ajax. Acuna was with Sevilla, and he was just, starting. But then you had those couple of games where Tagliafico played for Argentina, and he played great. He played very, very good. If you look at the Finalissima, for example, against Italy, a very good showing by Tagliafico. So I don't think you can go wrong with either of those two players. I think it's a very good problem to have, right? So for me, against Saudi Arabia, I would go more against Acuna. Now, against Mexico, against Poland, I'll let everybody else decide here. Try and persuade me. Who would you go with, Tagliafico or Acuna? Let me know down in the comments, right? Because both players, like I said, they add different things to the team. They're similar players in the sense of they're both left backs, but they might offer different things, right? Acuna moving forward, as I mentioned, maybe creatively a little bit better, maybe better at crossing a little bit. Tagliafico maybe a little bit better when it comes to slowing down the game, slowing the tempo if need be. Defensively, very solid. Not to say that Acuna isn't. Acuna maybe more physical, right? Physically more, just more powerful, just stronger than Tagliafico. I think it depends on, how Scaloni wants to play. We haven't seen Scaloni play three center backs ever, or maybe not ever, but in a long, long time. And I think if we were to see something like three center backs, then the left wing back, I think, would absolutely have to be Acuna. And then, the right wing back would probably maybe have to be Molina. But that's a whole other thing for the right backs. So going back to this, let me know. So against Saudi Arabia, who do you start? And against Mexico and against Poland, who would you start? For me, I'm thinking Poland. I'm thinking maybe a team that's a bit more physical. And I think someone like Acuna might be a better fit than Tagliafico. But then, and not to get ahead of ourselves and knock on wood, hopefully you guys heard that, knock on wood. If Argentina win that second match and qualification is already secured for the next round, then do you risk Acuna? Do you rest him and go with Tagliafico and potentially play Acuna in the round of 16? Or do you just continue with the current form and you play Acuna? There's a lot of different factors, and I can't wait to hear your answers. Let me know down below. Do you go with Tagliafico? Do you go with Acuna? I think I kind of made myself a little bit clear, even though my answers might not be too clear in terms of who I stand with. Like I said, I very much appreciate both. I think they both bring different elements to Argentina. One maybe more physical than the other. One, I'm not saying Tagliafico is more defensively stable than Acuna. That's not what I'm saying. But defensively, they're just very different. They're very, very different. So let me know down below, who do you guys prefer? They've been here since the very beginning with Scaloni. They were both at the World Cup in 2018. They both played at the World Cup in 2018. And they've been through this entire process. Or almost, because there was one game. And here's the hint. It was a World Cup qualifier. So that initial question at the start of the video, who played as left back in one of the matches where Tagliafico and Acuna were not available to play or did not play? Who was it? It was a World Cup qualifier. I'll give you guys a couple of more moments to think about it. Leave the answer down below if you think you know it. And then when I give the answer at the very end, let me know if you guys got it or not. Going back to this issue, like I said, I think it's a good problem to have, and they've both been here from the beginning. And there's that healthy relationship. There's that healthy competition between the two. You go back to the Copa America, a very demanding, physically demanding Copa America, very draining Copa America for everybody involved. And we saw the rotations, right? We saw Tagliafico start one game. We saw Acuna start the other, and then we would go back to Tagliafico and then back to Acuna, and some games maybe where they both played at the same time. So let me know. Let me know, who do you go with? I need a couple of answers here. So I'm looking for the answer of who do you go with against Saudi Arabia, and take into consideration that Tagliafico is in better form than Acuna. Take into consideration the opponent. And then my other question is, well, what about against Mexico and against Poland? What do you do in those two games? Who starts? Let me know down below. The final hint is, and you guys ready for this? The person who played as a left back in that World Cup qualifier, and I'm going to give the game, against Paraguay, was not a left back. Presently, part of the national team has been selected for the World Cup. Give you guys 5 seconds, and then I'm going to give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the player who played for Argentina as a left back against Paraguay in the World Cup qualifiers was Nicolas Gonzalez, and it was actually a game where he scored a goal. He scored the goal for Argentina in that game. If you knew it, let me know down below. And if you didn't, well, let me know who your original answer was. If you like what you saw, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications button to be the first person notified as soon as a new video drops. Once more, my name is Roy Nemmer of Mundo Albiceleste.com, and thank you for watching.